Welcome back to another episode of Georgia Sports Nation. Got some more Hawks and Braves content on the way for you guys tonight. I'm going to be recapping the 113-114 nail-biting loss to the Nets, as well as previewing the Hawks and Philly tonight. In that Nets game, Mikal Bridges and Trae Young came up clutch for both of their teams again, but unfortunately, it was Bridges who had the last laugh. He made a tough shot over DeAndre Hunter, countering Trae's step-back three, and basically sealed the win for his Nets. The Hawks are going to be in Philly tonight facing the 76ers. Hawks just played the 76ers a couple weeks ago, and DeAndre Hunter was ejected in that game. I'm going to look for him to have a big night, and I'm going to look for DeJounte to carry the scoring load tonight, especially with Trae Young out tonight against a tough opponent on the road. Also going to be discussing the Braves trading for the young Jared Kelenic from the Mariners. An outfielder, probably going to play left field alongside what's looking like to be Vaughn Grissom. So an interesting trade there by Alex Anthopoulos, who continues to make a lot of moves this offseason. But without further ado, let's get into this. So, Hawks, Nets. These teams met at State Farm Arena 2 weeks ago on the date on Wednesday. And this game was unlike any other Hawks game that's been throughout the past 2 weeks. It was a defensive kind of counter back and forth game where no team really had any long runs. This game had 43 lead changes. 43 lead changes and I think 11 ties. At 43 lead changes is the most amount of lead changes is the second most amount of lead changes since they started tracking that stat in the 1990s. Just an absurd game where no team had more than a 7-point lead throughout the entire night. The Nets' biggest lead was 88-84, and that came just to start the fourth quarter. So that kind of shows you how both two teams in the top 10 in offense struggled to really shoot the ball consistently. Both teams, especially in that first half, played really good defense, especially Trae Young. Now, Hawks fans know Trae Young's defensive reputation is not the greatest, but he on Wednesday was really good. He was able to keep Spencer Dinwiddie in front of him. He didn't let him get any easy buckets. Dinwiddie, who you expect to have a big night with Trae guarding him. Dinwiddie only shot 5 of 19 from the floor. Now he did hit a couple buckets late, but only ended up with 13 points. So Spencer Dinwiddie didn't have the game that the Nets needed for them to get what was perceived to be an easy win on the road for them. But we got Ant joining us here. And what did you think overall about that Nets game on Wednesday and just what transpired there at the end?
Well, I mean, to be honest, we couldn't get our defensive intensity was better in the fourth quarter, but we couldn't get any stops. And I thought not the shot that Trae, the three that Trae took before the shot clock. I mean the game clock had the shot clock had went out, but after that, it was like 20 seconds left, and we could have held the ball for the last, and we just put up, an easy shot. I mean, a silly shot, and then they came down and and hit a game winner. I mean, it was crazy.
So you would have rather Trae held the ball for a final shot there.
Yep.
I could see that argument. The only thing I would say to that is Trae, when the offense was struggling as it was so mightily and to gain an offensive rhythm over the whole game, I'll say that you want to give yourself 2 possessions there. Now the shot that Bridges hit, that was tough. Hunter could not have defended that any better. That was a great shot. And I know Trae. I know Trae definitely. He hit that step back three and it was great, but Trae definitely didn't I'm trying to word this correctly. Trey didn't have. I think Trey didn't. I just lost my train of thought. Go ahead if you want. I lost what I was gonna say.
I mean, it I, it was a tough game. I mean, offensively, we were not good from three at all. Um,
Yeah, Hawks shot. The Hawks only shot 11 of 27 from. No, that was the Nets. The Hawks shot 12 of 35 from three. Only 35 threes for a Hawks team that Quinn Snyder preaches. We need to shoot more, and 35 is too little for this team. We need to be more than that. Needs to be.
yeah, I mean, if we have to get better at getting in, moving. I mean, sometimes we get a little stagnant, and the ball sticks, and we like we'll pass the ball once, and then we'll shoot up a silly shot, and then we'll give up a long rebound, and then easy transition.
Yeah. As Southside says here, whenever Trey Young is your best guard defender in a game, you're probably going to lose. And he was the Hawks' best defender, I think, on the entire night. And that's kind of why I harp on. I never give Trey like a pass for his defensive. Like if he's trying, that's good. But the reason why I keep on harping about, DeJounte's man. He's got to keep his man in front of him, is because that was one of the primary things that he was brought here to do. Is to play that lockdown defense on good perimeter players. And unfortunately, he's not been able to keep them in front of him. Now he's getting steals galore. The Hawks are the number one team in the league in steals, number one team in the league in deflections. The effort, the smarts are there in the passing lanes. That is all there. I'm not like defense getting steals and getting deflections. If you lead the league in deflections, to me, that shows me that you are giving effort on the defensive end. It's not that you're sitting there like, oh, okay, I'll let that pass go through. But there's just not a lot of smart defenders on the Hawks, and with the poor point of attack defense, and combined the fact that Jalen Johnson is not there to cover up some of those mistakes, we have a poor backline with Saddiq Bey and sometimes Bogdan Bogdanovic. That's not a recipe for some good defense. That's not a recipe for some good defense.
Yeah, that's the problem right there, Mikey. Like our on the ball defense is trash.
Yeah,
straight like we are garbage. Like we cannot stay in front of our man, and we give up dribble drives, and then they could swing the ball. We get off, and then they swing it to the corner. We jump in, and then bam, it's an open shot. I'm like, come on, man. Why are y'all out of position?
Yeah, like, and one possession that comes to mind for me, especially late in the game, Spencer Dinwiddie had the ball on the wing, and DeAndre Hunter had switched onto him. Now DeAndre pokes the ball out. There's about 5 seconds on the shot clock, and Dinwiddie does a hesitation move with his left hand, gets the blow by on Hunter, and then floats it over Capella. Tough shot. I'm gonna give Dinwiddie his credit. That was a tough layup. Capella got there in time to help, made it a really difficult shot. But on that possession there, with 3 seconds on the clock, Dre cannot let Dinwiddie drive by him that easily. The defense, you've got to realize in the back of your head, if you're Dre, okay, there's 3 seconds left on the shot clock. We need, if they make a tough three, step back, fade away over, over my, I think he's got like almost a 7-foot wingspan. Okay, so be it. You'll live with it. But you can't give up a drive to the rim, and that's what happened on that possession. That was kind of the oh no, the momentum is gone kind of moment for me in this game.
Yeah. I can't deny it. I mean, you're supposed to be our best defender, and you're giving up, dribble drives like that. I mean, that says a lot about on the ball defense.
And here, you're speaking of being our best on-ball defender. Hunter, in that first half, had Mikal Bridges in Guantanamo Bay in a straitjacket. Bridges could do nothing in that first half. And same with Murray. Murray played great point of attack defense during that Nets game. I'm going to give credit where credit's due. Cam Thomas is a good scorer. Now, he's not a star by any means, Cam Thomas, but he is a great scorer. And DeJounte didn't let him get any easy looks. He had his first field goal with 8 minutes left in the third quarter. So DeJounte was playing great defense on him. And Hunter, equally great defense on Mikal Bridges in that first half. But when Mikal Bridges put 42 on the Hawks 2 or 3 weeks ago, I was like, he might do it again. He loves playing in Atlanta. Mikal Bridges loves playing in Atlanta. And he finished the game after going almost after having just 12 at halftime. He had 32, 6 assists, 5 rebounds, and finished 12 of 19 from the floor and 3 of 4 from 3. The adjustments that he made on was that's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's like he flipped the switch at halftime. I mean, okay, let's turn the page. We're gonna turn this up a notch in the second half.
Yeah, that's exactly what he said in that locker room. And one thing that I thought was interesting about the kind of the way the Hawks were defending Bridges was they were giving him that mid-range shot in the fourth quarter, especially in that second half. Once he hits a couple of those shots and gets in rhythm, he's automatic from there. And I know the mid-range shot analytically, and especially in today's NBA, is not the shot that a lot of coaches wants their team taking. But when you're elite in the mid-range, like a Kevin Durant, Mikal Bridges, DeMar DeRozan, these guys who just take the mid-range and score effectively each and every time down the court from there, there's a difference. And I think the Hawks should have blitzed Mikal Bridges on some of these screens, especially down the stretch. You got to let somebody else make the play to beat you at that point. And I think that was the issue I found defensively down the stretch.
Yes, you have to make the others beat you. I mean, that should be the key every game. Don't let the top 2 dogs of the other team beat you. Let them others, if they have a great game, okay, we'll chalk it up. But you can't lay down against their best players.
Yeah. Southside says here it's funny because when Murray and Hunter seem to play good defense, they don't score. But when they're not scoring, they play good defense. And Hunter before this was playing great offensively. Now that Bucks game, he was not good offensively. It was 3 for 10 from the floor. Didn't play well. But before that, without Jalen Johnson, he was stepping up with 20 points per game in 3+ games. I mean, he had an offensive rhythm, and we were going to him early. The Hawks really looked to involve Hunter early. They get it to him on the wing. He's catching, going off the catch. That's what Quinn Snyder preaches, being aggressive offensively. And they're finding him mismatches in the mid-range where he's a great scorer. But I just don't think Hunter was utilized enough down the stretch. Obviously, Trey had a great game, but I think especially with Murray and Hunter, they kind of were not as aggressive as they were to begin the game because both of them started off in the first quarter well.
Right. Yep. I agree.
Yeah. I think that is Larry. If it is Larry, yeah, Trey scored well and played well offensively for sure. Here's the thing. I remember when 7 games, the first 7 games of the season, there was a tweet by Kevin Chenard. Trey was averaging, he was still scoring 24, 25 a game, but it was on extremely inefficient shooting, 28% from the field. So I remember people were saying, "Oh, Trey's cooked. The shooting's not coming back." Now he may not ever get back to 2021 efficiency, and that's okay. He's still going to be a great player in this league if he doesn't shoot that upper 40s from the field and from 3. But the people who said that after seven game sample size, that Trae Young was just cooked, can't shoot anymore. It was just I just never understood that. It was just, jeez, that was something that got under my skin right there.
They need their mental check. I mean, come on, bro. Look,
7 games.
7 games, bro. Look, okay. His defense does need a little tweak, but you can't. His offense is. I mean, he's the best scorer that we have, and it's like we're nitpicking about what we want to, complain about, and oh, okay, well, his field goal percentage is down. So I mean, so what? It's 7 games. It will get up there. I mean, no, it might not be as high as it was, a couple years ago, but it'll get up to, respectable range. I mean,
he was shooting 28% from the floor. He is not a 28% from the floor shooter.
No.
He might be, even if he had a bad year last year when he was 34%. I think his floater's starting to go down now. That's going to go up, and I think he can be close to that 40% range if he takes some more smart shots. And another thing I wanted to bring up with that with Trae's recent play is, so I didn't understand a lot of Hawks fans saying we need Trae to be like Steve Nash. He's got to make sure to get up to that 20 assist mark. Now, DeJounte can score. Don't get me wrong. DeJounte can score. But if Trae Young isn't taking shots on this team, if he's timid, the Hawks aren't going to get to where they need to be in the future. That's what I'll say. Like, I know a lot of fans want to win now, and I get it. I get it. Trust me. But they wouldn't get to where they want to be if Trae Young was timid and didn't want to shoot the ball. That's just what I'll say for that.
Look, I have preached this before, and I'm preaching it again. This team will go as far as Trae takes them because he is that great of an offensive player. That's just it.
Trae. Yeah, Larry says Trae's at 40% from 28 field goals earlier in the season. That means he's been cooking around 50 to 60% average the past 10 games.
Yeah.
And I expected that. Now is Trae Young a 50 to 60% shooter? No. That's going to come down. Okay, you can expect that to come down a bit. But he is not 28. That'll probably settle maybe just above 40 if he could start to get that consistent floater down, maybe a little bit below that if he takes a little bit more threes, especially in that Snyder system. But yeah, this is a good point because he was having a really bad shooting start. Then he goes way up here, and that's going to balance somewhere in the middle. So I think that's a great point. But I did want to bring this up, Southside, and this is a good segue here because we got to talk about Onyeka Okongwu and the center situation. Weird stat line from Onyeka in this Nets game. 1 of 5 from the field, for 2 points, 9 rebounds, added 2 assists and a steal. Now, I will say this. I've been a little bit disappointed in Onyeka's defense this year. Last year, he was top 10 in the league in blocks in almost under 20 minutes a game off the bench. And he was outplaying Capella for the final 2.5 months of the season on the nightly most of the time. So I was like, okay, Onyeka, he's taking more mid-rangers. He's taking a couple 1 to 2 threes a game. There's a chance that he could have a good year. But he has been so disappointing this season, man. I'm not writing him off. No way. And I think both centers have really struggled because of the new system that we're running. We're not playing drop under Nate McMillan. We're playing drop coverage. The centers, if the centers were challenged, they'd get a lot of blocks. Now the centers are high on the screens and they're trying to contain the ball because our point. I get what Quinn is doing because our point of attack defense is poor. So that helps when you have to have the big hard hedge and get high on the screen. But Onyeka just hasn't been able to recover like he was last year. And I hope it's just a bad start to the season for him, but he's been really disappointing.
Let's hope it was just a bad start to the season. Because if not, we're gonna look like some damn fools.
Yeah, and both centers have regressed heavily on defense. I mean, if you look at Okongwu's, it was like rim contest percentage. It was like a graph that I saw on a tweet from Josh Lloyd 2 days ago, who runs a fantasy basketball podcast, Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Okongwu last year was on the top right, all the way on the right, and all the way up on the graph, near the 99th percentile in rim protection. And this year, he's almost at the 10th percentile. I mean, that is an astronomical difference. and it has to do with the new system, definitely some of it. But I just think it's I don't know. I really don't know what it is. Does he have to have 30 minutes a night to gain a rhythm? I don't know, because eventually, organizationally, this team will probably get off Capella, no matter what the on-court product is, just because it makes sense from a contract standpoint, from a money standpoint, from a development standpoint.
You have to do it. Yeah.
You have to do it. But the on-court product, I admit this. Yeah, it'll get worse.
I mean, we're just gonna have to take our lumps. I mean, because he can't survive in this. I was saying this in last year when we hired Quinn, that Clint Capella is gonna suffer in this system.
Yeah, it's not. It hasn't been the greatest look, because when you got your centers not playing as well defensively, combined with the poor point of attack defense, combined with missing Jalen Johnson on the back line, defense,
I mean,
right down into the sewer. So, that's what made this game so weird, because this was a defensive game. Both teams couldn't find an offensive rhythm, and when before this, the Hawks had given up 8 straight games of 120 plus points. They were winning them. Because we have we're top 5 in 6 out of the 9 main offensive metrics. Our offense is absurd, led by Trae Young. Not surprised, but Quinn Snyder's known around the NBA as a great offensive coach, but the team just does not have the defenders to consistently do this. I hope we see some of the type of effort that we got on the defensive end from this game in tonight's game in Philly. But we'll get to previewing that a bit later. But I did want to. Did you want to mention one other thing before I bring up my final point about this Nets game?
Okay, so it was this one play. I can't exactly remember, but Clint Capella had a clear layup, and he missed it. I mean, it doinked. I'm like, bro, what? It was right there. What are you doing?
Man, Capella's finishing leaves a lot to be desired. And Okongwu last year had one of the best finishing seasons by an Atlanta Hawk in franchise history. He's shooting almost 50% from the field, and the shots that he takes, that should be up near 65, 60. I'm not worried about Okongwu's offense. I'm not worried at all. The body of his work, you could see throughout his career, the efficiency is there. The finishing, the hook shot, it's not going in right now, and that happens. Okay, but the defense is more what I'm concerned about.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, but Clint Capella gotta finish more of these layups, because it's funny. Capella's outplayed Okongwu in most of these games so far this year, but people get on Capella so quickly when he misses a layup like that, and rightly so, because a lot of times if you miss that layup, the other team just sprints down the floor and gets the layup on the other end. Yep. But we know who Clint Capella is by now. He's not going to be a great finisher around the rim, even though the stats might tell you he is. These layups have got to go in, man. More of these layups definitely have to go in.
Got to.
Larry asks, the Pelicans might be ready to break it up. If so, do we go after Brandon Ingram or Herb Jones? Herb Jones, jeez. You can go with your thoughts on that, and then I'll go after.
Maybe I will have to look at look at some more of their film. Maybe Herb Jones, I guess.
I think both of them would help.
Both of them.
I think Herb Jones. We need a player like Herb Jones on this team. We don't have anybody like a guy who can do what he does at the point of attack. And I normally wear a Hawks Atlanta gear, but I'm wearing an NC State. They can do, baby. I'm wearing that shirt tonight because this was my final point on the Nets. For those that don't know, I went to NC State. But Dennis Smith Jr., he went to NC State, and you could see the point of attack defense, the ball pressure that these young guards who come out of state who play. Dennis Smith Jr. almost was out of the league until he went to Charlotte last year, and people realized how good of a defender he is against point guards. Kevin Keats, basketball coach up in Raleigh, is one of the best in college basketball at teaching ball pressure. And if you ever watch a College Park Skyhawks game, Jarkel Joyner does the exact same thing. The Skyhawks, it's so funny. If you ever watched a game by them, I highly recommend it because they play the same defensive scheme as the Hawks. So don't act like Quinn doesn't know how to play defense. This defensive scheme in College Park is working like a charm. But they can't score. The Skyhawks can't score, but they play elite defense. But the Atlanta Hawks score a ton, but can't play defense. It's complete opposite. It's the complete opposite. So it's hilarious. But the value of having one of those pesky guys. Indiana doesn't have a good defense. We actually have a better defense than Indiana. But TJ McConnell, one of those guys. Dennis Smith Jr. on the Nets. They have a bad defense, but they still have a guy like that. The Pelicans have a good defense. They have Herb Jones. The Bulls, terrible team, but they have Alex Caruso to do that. So there's even though some of these teams aren't that great, they still have that guy. The Hawks just don't have one of these point of attack defenders who you fear. They might be good. They might have a good reputation, but they're not feared.
Yeah, we don't have any pests. We don't have any like a Pat Bev or somebody like that where they get under your skin with their defense. We don't have anybody like that.
Yeah, the last guy, he doesn't get under your skin, but the last amazing point of attack defender that the Hawks had was DeLon Wright.
Oh yeah, yes.
DeLon Wright, and y'all know I love DeLon. I think he's the best off-ball defender in the league. Better than Draymond, better than Bam, better than AD, better than Giannis. I literally think he's the best off-ball defender in the league. But the point of attack defense is what we are missing huge. If you remember, Darius Garland in that playing game a couple of years ago, he barely scored in the second half when we put DeLon Wright on him. And there's a reason. There's a reason that he was valuable to this team. But in the end, Hawks offered him a contract, but he wanted to go play with his good buddy Kyle Kuzma. That's his best friend. So at the end of the day, there was not much the Hawks could do, except if they wanted to go into the luxury tax. But that's a different type of conversation. We'll leave that for another day. That's out of our control.
Right.
But yeah, we'll go in because the game does start in 15 minutes. A little bit of a shorter show tonight. We'll go into the preview tonight. Oh well, actually, no. I want to talk about one more thing because what did you think of that final play? That Trey was fouled or not fouled? After that, that floater almost went in. It went in and out, but the Hawks ended up losing. But what did you think of it?
That was a foul. But you already know that we're not going to get those type of calls. Period. They they've made that perfectly clear that it doesn't matter if we're on the road or at home, we're not going to get those type of calls. It never happens.
Yeah.
So,
What was? Oh, go ahead.
no, I was finished. Go ahead.
Okay. The most interesting part about that play was when Trey drove forward, DSJ slid his feet. He cut him off when he was going forward, and knocked him off his balance. And by definition, when a defensive player impedes an offensive player's progress and gets to that spot late, that's a blocking foul.
That's foul, yeah.
What's weird to me is in the last 2-minute report, they said that was a correct non-call. The last 2-minute report said it was a correct non-call, but they mentioned the slap down. And he did make contact with Trey's arm, but I don't think it was enough to call a foul. So I think they were right about that. But they never mentioned the potential of a blocking foul, which I thought was the foul to begin with. So I was just confused by that last 2-minute report. I don't know if you saw it, but yeah, they mentioned Trey Dennis Smith Jr. makes legal contact with Trey's offhand, and it's deemed marginal to not be called a foul, and that's fine. I agree. I didn't think he was hurt on the arm. I didn't think he was hit on the arm was a foul, but the blocking foul I think was clear, and they never mentioned that. So that was what I thought was crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they the ref just put some blinders on right then all of a sudden and decided not to see it.
Yeah, Southside, exactly. DeLon Wright was very unappreciated by this fan base until the end of the season. I worked so hard for the entire year for everybody to see the defensive value that he brought, even though he wasn't aggressive on defense, and that wasn't even his fault. We're not going to go down the rabbit hole on that, but it wasn't even his fault that he wasn't aggressive because a certain someone told him not to be aggressive. When do you tell one of your players to not be aggressive? After DeLon Wright, by the way, has one of the only 20-point triple doubles in NBA history with no turnovers. But don't be aggressive. Don't be aggressive. A certain someone told him that.
Don't be aggressive.
That's just ridiculous.
I've never heard those words in sports. Period.
Don't be aggressive. But yeah, that was definitely one of the weirdest comments I've ever seen from a head coach. But we'll move on to previewing these Sixers game on the road tonight. Look, Trae Young is out, just like Larry said here. He's out. He's sick. He just had a second baby, and that probably is going to happen. Not very unexpected, not very surprising there. When you're probably up all night dealing with the kids.
Mm-hmm.
But what are the Hawks going to do? What is your key to the game tonight to get this win against a great team in Philadelphia?
Okay, so DJ, Hunter, and Bogey, we're gonna need all y'all to step up. And I say this every game. I mean, I don't want us to pitch a perfect game on defense. I just want you to show us something on defense. Just show up on defense.
Yeah, just like they did in the Nets game.
Yeah, just give us a little something on defense, and we're good because we all know even if Trey is out, we can score on anybody. We've proven that we could beat this team, time and time again. So it's not out of the realm, So if we could just slow them down a little bit. That's what I mean. Just slow them down.
Yeah, for me.
Go ahead. Good. I think we're good.
For me, diving a little bit deeper, DeJounte. I'm going to preface this by saying I think DeJounte would be a great second option on a championship team at point guard, not a shooting guard. And when he plays point guard, he's in his natural position. But against the 76ers last time, he really, really struggled. Because what does DeJounte like to do? He likes to snake the screen, get into that little 15-foot range, and put up a contested mid-ranger. Now, a lot of times they go in, and that's great. But if they're not going in, he doesn't really have a lot of go-to moves other than that on the pick and roll. Now, the 76ers, I'm going to list these guys out now. Pat Bev, Nico Batum, Robert Covington, DeAnthony Melton, who I think is one of the most underrated defenders in the league. I already said Pat Bev, didn't I? Yeah, I did. These all the guys I just listed, great perimeter defenders. And they're going to take that space away from DeJounte with some length. So what can DeJounte do to kind of keep them off balance? And yeah, you can mix in that little 15-footer, sure. But can he turn the corner and get downhill and get to the rim to have the defense guessing what he's going to do off that screen? That's what I want to see from DeJounte.
That's going to be something to see. That his first step is what's going to matter about that. Yeah, his first step. Yeah.
So can he get around that screen and put pressure on Embiid, but maybe get him in foul trouble? This is a game we need him to be aggressive, getting to the rim and not just pulling up for that mid-ranger every time. The Hawks did announce their starting lineup. As expected, Bogey is the starting shooting guard. So definitely going to need his shooting tonight to space the floor. Bogey's been playing excellently over the course of this season so far. You know, he's had us a few stinkers about the off shooting nights, but definitely been juicing our offense when he's there. Sadiq and Bogey starting tonight is going to juice this offense with spacing. Can DeJounte find them? And can DeJounte operate well with the starting group? Because lately he hasn't been good in the non-Trey minutes. The offense without Trey lately has actually been poor. We still have an elite offense, but it's been poor. So can we have a consistent offense without Trey? That's my biggest key. Now, obviously, the defense is the biggest problem for the Hawks, but Joel Embiid tortures the Hawks every single time he plays them. We just don't have any. Onyeka's quick enough, but he's just not tall enough. And Capella, I don't even. So, what do you want to see to kind of slow down Embiid?
I mean, Capella's gonna have to play out of his mind. I mean, to be honest, we're gonna need a prayer because it's just like you said. I mean, Onyeka, he's quick enough, but he's not tall enough, and it's like exact opposites. Capella, he's tall enough, but he's not quick enough. So it's I don't know. And honestly, if we can merge those two together, then we'll be perfect.
Yeah. And you know what's funny? I've been talking to some Hawks fans saying, Jalen Johnson does so much for this team on both ends.
Yeah.
And we're missing him a lot. Our defense was better with him. Obviously, it wasn't like we were 3 games over 500 with him in the starting lineup. I mean, we were figuring out something. Then he goes down, he gets hurt. But nobody on this team can do what Jalen Johnson does. If you want that, you need to combine Sadiq Bey with his effort. You need to combine Clint Capella with the rim protection. You also need to combine Trey's speed. You also need to combine DeAndre Hunter defense. That's one player I just mentioned who can do all of those things. So you can't really replace Jalen Johnson. That's what I really want to get at. It's the power forward is such an important position on this team, especially for point of attack defense to cover up some of it. And that's why I think, some fans say, oh, Jalen Johnson just went down. It's not like we lost Trae Young, but Jalen, you can make an argument, in my opinion, that Jalen Johnson, he's not better than Trae Young, no doubt, but he might be more important to the glue of this team than Trae because we have DeJounte. He could just slide in at point guard. I think an argument can be made that the power forward position is what's holding the core of this team together. Right now, the defense is not there.
I would say that's a great point, especially on a night that we're missing Trey. That's an amazing point. But I think on when Trey is in there, we mostly miss him on defense and in the transition game, especially. Like so,
let's see if Trae Young can continue his defense. Lately, he's been playing great defense. Been our best perimeter defender. So let's see if that can continue. Last thing I want to say about this game, and then we'll get into a little bit about the Jared Kelenic trade, is I want to see the Hawks double Embiid. We all know in that 2021 playoff series, he turned the ball over so many times when the Hawks doubled him, and he's gotten a better passer for sure. He's been a better passer since that year, but the Hawks are number one in steals in the league and deflections for a reason. Double Embiid, make him make the right decision, and we'll get hurt by the others, like you were saying earlier in the show. That I think is one thing I need to see from the Hawks, and to have a shot at winning this game against a really good team. With Harden, Philly, they didn't have the defenders, they didn't have Harden. It was just weird situation. But now, they added Robert Covington back in Philly for his second stint. They added Nicholas Batum. These two more perimeter defenders. So they're legit. I think Philly's legit now. I'm really excited to see that team and what they can do, because obviously they've been second round exits consistently, and it's Embiid, playoff choker, all that stuff. So I think this is the year that might change for them. I just really like the roster.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds good in the regular season, but can he show up in the playoffs? I mean, that's going to be that's just his question of his career, because he hasn't. I mean, he'll have a big game here and there, but he hasn't proven that he can be the best player on a championship team.
Yep. All right. As we get into a little bit of Braves talk here for a couple minutes. Beginning of the week, the Braves traded for Jared Kelenic from the Mariners. Now, if you're not familiar with him, is a young guy who really never found it with the Mariners. He came up, had a great couple weeks, then really struggled mightily, went back to the minors, came back up, started struggling, had a couple good stretches after that, but then he punched a water cooler and he broke his hand. Now he comes to the Braves. Oh my goodness! And as I just mentioned the Braves, Jeff Passan just announced that the Atlanta Braves are acquiring infielder David Fletcher and catcher Max Stassi in a trade with the Los Angeles Angels for first baseman Evan White and right-handed reliever Tyler Thomas. So David Fletcher, a utility man in the infield, and Max Stassi, a backup catcher. Interesting. Now we have three catchers. Interesting. But yeah, that's that. So that moves more for depth. But Jared Kelenic, I think that he's going to start in left field.
Oh yeah,
I think he's going to start in left field, and it's looking like Vaughn Grissom. He and Vaughn Grissom will platoon. Alex Anthopoulos at the end of the winter meetings this week said the Braves are done looking for position players. That's Vaughn Grissom and Jared Kelenic's job right there.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of already knew that, Double A was up to something, because he wasn't done. I mean, he's never done.
Because it was quiet. He works in silence.
Yeah, he's always quiet. He's a silent assassin, man.
Mm-hmm.
You'll get hit, but you'll never know it until you're slumped over. And
yeah, and one of the biggest things, the Braves trade. Evan White was actually part of that Jared Kelenic trade that the Braves got back, and Marco Gonzalez was as well as a left-handed pitcher. But the Braves traded Gonzalez to the Pirates for a player to be named later. We don't know who that player is yet, so we'll see in the coming weeks who that is. But this year, overall, I really like the Kelenic trade just because the Braves didn't really give up anybody that was going to help them now. And to get a young player who showed flashes but never got consistent playing time, now he's going to get a shot. And with Kevin Seitzer, who's developed some of these guys in our lineup to be some of the world's best hitters, who knows what can happen? Can he find it in Atlanta? I think there's a possibility.
Yeah, it's a possibility. I mean, maybe he'll find some type of what's the word for it? Get on the roll, and see what are these guys doing that I'm not doing, especially in the off season.
Yeah,
and maybe that some of that will rub off on him, and then we don't need him to be this world class hit. We just need you to be serviceable. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, and he's big time power. He had a 480 foot home run. One of the top 10 longest home runs of the season. But he does strike out a lot. So they kind of the Braves didn't strike out. The Braves didn't strike out a lot last year, and that's why they had the year they had offensively compared to 2022 when they were still great offensively. But they had a lot of home runs and they didn't strike out. Now, let's see if Kelnick can, join the party like you were saying and kind of get those strikeouts down, but keep that power up. So we'll see. With the winter meetings concluded, Shohei Ohtani hasn't signed yet, and I'm convinced that he's holding up the market. He's holding up the market. Yeah. Whenever we get where Shohei is signing, things are going to blow up. Things are really going to blow up. You'll see Yamamoto sign. Some of these guys, Blake Snell, Aaron Nola already signed, but Sonny Gray already went. I was shocked that he went this early, but yeah, this market's going to be crazy once Shohei tells the world where he's going.
Yeah, I'm praying for a miracle, but hey, I'm not going to say that.
We'll see. But yeah. All right, with that being said, thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Georgia Sports Nation. Make sure to keep an eye out for the show next week, 6 p.m. Eastern time. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe if you're on YouTube, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace.
Peace.